class.
Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to MsMojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 David Rose quotes.
Tell me, David, why do you want this job?
I ran out of eye cream. Don't judge me for what I'm about to ask you to do.
I'm obsessed with this.
For this list, we're looking at the most memorable lines spouted by the adult son of Johnny and Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek. Did your favorite make the cut? Be sure to let us know in the comments. All right, let's get into it. Number 10. Shame eating. In the second season finale, the gang all ends up at a party at Mutt's barn that they may or may not have been invited to.
Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Oh, I wouldn't either, but I couldn't find a cocktail shaker and someone brought room temperature vodka.
David and Stevie end up competing for the affections of a guy named Jake, who calls David handsome while he's making a drink.
I'm Jake.
David.
It's nice to meet you, handsome.
When David interacts with Jake again later on, he's enjoying a few snacks on his own and ignoring everyone else at the party. His hilarious self-awareness and sheer relatability in this moment is astounding.
Thought I was shame eating in private.
What is shame eating?
I don't think we have enough time for that tonight.
The fact that the townie didn't even know what shame eating was just the cherry on top. Number 9. One with nature.
Don't judge me for what I'm about to ask you to do.
You might be able to tell within a minute of first meeting him that David Rose is not exactly the outdoorsy type.
You've got a thing about bugs.
No, I don't have a thing about bugs. It was one bug, and that bug was Milky.
He has many strengths, but communion with nature is certainly not one of them. That's what makes this quote so funny.
So, you're a man at one with nature.
Yeah, I could not be more at one with nature. I do Coachella every year.
David ends up on Roland's annual turkey shoot after Stevie invites him as a joke when he's unable to kill a bug in the motel. Of course he wants to prove himself, and it's hard to say if this line is said in seriousness or as a tongue-in-cheek remark. But does it even matter?
Nothing would make me more excited than to go hunting for turkeys with you.
Number 8. Job interview with Johnny. All 4 members of the Rose family have a lot of readjusting to do when it comes to their expectations after arriving in Schitt's Creek.
I met with a woman at a very sad grocery store, and I have a quote-unquote interview to be a bag boy.
David eventually, horror of horrors, has to get a job, and he decides to apply to be a bag boy. When his dad tries to help him prep for his interview, he's a little more candid than he should be when answering questions.
Tell me, David, why do you want this job?
I don't want this job.
Despite his lack of enthusiasm, he at least gets to try to bag some groceries. But it's brief, as his dad ultimately ends up costing David the job thanks to constant phone interruptions.
Someone's on a health kick, huh?
David Rose, line 1.
Just gonna scoop past.
Number 7. Life coaching.
Can I ask you something?
That depends.
In the first season, Jocelyn approaches David to ask if he can help out with a student at her school. She not so subtly implies that because David is part of the LGBTQ+ community, he'll be able to relate to the young boy.
You strike me as the sort of person that had a hard time in high school.
Thank you.
David whips out his signature snark in response, chastising her for even considering him for such a task.
The idea of me life coaching another human being should scare you a lot.
Considering the mistakes we've seen David make throughout the show, it makes sense that he's wary of trying to offer counseling to a struggling teenager, especially one who doesn't even want it.
Okay, well, movies aren't always right. All right, you'll learn that later in life. I happen to be a little bit older than you are, so.
Obviously.
Okay, well, I think we're good here.
Number 6. His birthday plans. The rest of the Roses forget David's birthday in season 3, and he decides that he wants to stay home and feel sorry for himself.
Here's a question. Has your family ever forgotten your birthday? Like your parents and your sister collectively as a whole?
He is unabashed about his plans, which may seem troubling or relatable depending on where you're at in life.
Do you have any plans for today, or?
I plan on popping a pill, crying a bit, and falling asleep early. So just a regular weeknight.
Luckily, Patrick convinces him to go out for dinner so that he's not alone. And the night ends up turning into a pretty important one. David and Patrick share their first kiss after Stevie gives them some alone time. Can you imagine if he had missed out on this? Number 5. Wrong things. After Ted and Alexis's relationship ends, she has a harder time getting over him than she had originally anticipated.
What did he say? Nothing. We merely exchanged familial smiles. He seemed quite taken with an older woman, so I thought best not to intrude.
When Moira casually mentions that she saw Ted canoodling with an older woman at the cafe, Alexis is obviously rattled.
I mean, that could have been anyone, though, right? Like a mother or a close friend.
They were canoodling in the banquette for all to see, so I'd be rather concerned if that were his mother, David.
Moira, however, is totally oblivious to her daughter's emotions and keeps putting her foot in her mouth again and again. As soon as Alexis leaves to go for a run, David delivers this line in total shock that his mother could have possibly messed up so many times in such quick succession.
Okay. I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
Number 4, human emotion. Speaking of Alexis and Ted's relationship, when Ted goes to David for advice about the situation, David is a bit flummoxed as to why he would confide in him.
I would hardly call myself an expert on this subject. And by subject, I mean genuine human emotion. So I am just going to tell you what I know.
Despite the fact that he's close with Alexis, he's probably right in his hilarious statement that he's not an expert in genuine human emotion, especially considering how much he suffered romantically.
I am suffering romantically right now. And there was a minute when I thought I would never have to look at another dating app, and here you are shoving bumpkins in my face.
He does still manage to convey some important information to Ted, so even if he doesn't have much confidence in his abilities to offer emotional support, he's not actually quite as bad at it as he thinks.
But I think it's important for us to remember that sometimes it does work out. And even though everything inside us is telling us to protect ourselves, when you've got it, don't let it go.
Number 3, connections. Not long after we're first introduced to the Roses, David makes his intentions in Schitt's Creek incredibly clear when he delivers this line.
What's the name of the mouthy kid at the front desk?
I don't know. I'm trying very hard not to connect with people right now.
Considering his life just underwent a massive upheaval, we can't say we blame him. One of the most compelling things about David's character is the fact that he always manages to get close to people despite his best efforts.
You might want to rethink the nightgown first. There's a whole Ebenezer Scrooge thing happening.
While he initially seemed closed off to making any new connections, it's clear by the end of the series that he obviously wasn't meant to live in solitude.
My best to Bob Cratchit.
Number 2, that option. This line actually precedes the quote in our previous entry about David's birthday plans.
Yeah, I'm not going. I was at your first graduation, and it's not my fault that you weren't there.
When his parents try to suggest that the family celebrates his birthday along with Alexis's graduation, David replies with this zinger, totally owning how self-involved he can be.
We all have to go, David, unless you have some special excuse.
It's my birthday.
Rather than faking interest in topics that he couldn't care less about, he's completely honest about his disinterest. And we can't help but love him for it.
Well, we'll just have to have a birthday and graduation celebration all in one.
Yeah, I'm very uninterested in that option.
This quote is emblematic of his entire character, showing that he always speaks his mind and doesn't mince words even if he may be at risk of hurting someone's feelings. It may be harsh, but hey, it's part of his charm. One of my favorite David Rose quotes, aside from "Eat glass," is, "The Queen hasn't smiled since the 70s and her birthdays are still very well attended." Use that one next time some random tells you to smile more. Ha! All right, before we get to our top David Rose quote, let's look at some honorable mentions. A Season of Girls.
New York?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would do there.
And you just watch a season of Girls and do the opposite of what they do.
A Stiff Drink.
I'm gonna need a stiff drink to get through this. Stiff.
Funky.
Funky is a neon t-shirt you buy at an airport gift shop next to a bejeweled iPhone case. This is luxury.
Like Beyonce.
Like Beyonce, I excel as a solo artist, and I was also dressed by my mother well into my teens.
Bedazzled.
Excuse me? I haven't bedazzled anything since I was 22.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, wine versus labels. How did David manage to perfectly condense pansexuality into an uncomplicated metaphor about wine?
So you're just really open to all wines?
I like the wine and not the label. Does that make sense?
After he and Stevie shared an unexpected intimate moment, she tries to subtly inquire about his sexuality, as she had previously thought he was gay.
Just to be clear, I'm a red wine drinker.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. But I only drink red wine.
Okay.
She uses the concept of wine to soften the question, asking if he always drinks red or sometimes enjoys white.
Up until last night, I was under the impression that you too only drank red wine. But I guess I was wrong.
I see where you're going with this.
When David catches on, he delivers this short and succinct monologue explaining that when it comes to relationships, for him, it's what's on the inside that counts.
I do drink red wine, but I also drink white wine. And I've been known to sample the occasional rosé. And a couple summers back, I tried a Merlot that used to be a Chardonnay, which got a bit complicated.
Okay.
Now, why couldn't everyone see it so simply? The writing on this show, am I right? And the delivery. Dan Levy nailed it on both accounts. But did your favorite David Rose quote make the cut? Let's make the comment section just a love fest full of David Rose quotes. Or come talk to me on Twitter or Instagram at Rebecca Brayton or on my YouTube channel. Eat glass! I don't mean that. See ya.